Good afternoon, and welcome back to the action. Welcome back to the World Rules Pool Tour, Event 2, Day 2, and we are back with the action on the main event. This is the last 32, and we're really getting down to the business end. This match between Phil Harrison and Arfan Dad, and again joined on comms by Mark Shepherd. This looks like a great game, doesn't it, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, we were debating which match to put on this table. Frankly, all of them are looking pretty tasty matches at this stage. Played down from 2-5-6 to 32, so as you'd imagine, some pretty good players left in it.
You could make an argument that these are the two form players in the country at the moment, and I say that because Phil, off the back of that win at the, just last Monday night, he'll be on an absolute high. He pocketed £10,000 for winning that Masters event on Monday. Arfan at the last IPA event made both finals of the pro event and the open event, which is an incredible achievement in that field. So yeah, really are two of the in-form players, so should be a blockbuster of a game.
Yeah, and both very consistent players, the kind of guys that seem to be pretty much perpetually in form. I haven't seen Arfan for quite a while, but he's just such a solid player. Like, you just know what you're getting from him.
Funny enough, I had a long conversation last night with Arfan after he finished his match yesterday evening, and he said that for him, lockdown came just at the right time for his game, because he had a table at home that he was just never using. Just couldn't find the enthusiasm to practice at home, and then suddenly, with all these lockdown events that was going on, he suddenly found himself playing loads and loads of competitive pool, playing these challenge matches, and he was constantly on the table. He was on pretty much every day playing competitive pool, and he found a way to turn lockdown to his advantage. And he really feels that has been a help in pushing his game on to the next level, which is really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, I've heard a lot of positive comments about lockdown from that point of view. Like, they seem to fall into two camps. There have been ones like Arfan that have played a lot more. There's also been several people I've spoken to that said, "Oh, I had a year off, but really up for it now. And sort of needed that. I'd been playing non-stop for a long time and just really enthusiastic to be back." So it seems, I mean, I guess it's sort of self-selecting because this is the group that had turned up to the tournament, but it seems that everyone's kind of either welcome the break or welcome the extra practice, and is happy to be back in the proper tournament arena now. Typically a steady start from Phil. The thing that's obviously going to be concerning him is the red and yellow that he's pointing at now. Just looking at if he was to drop down the right hand side of the table, or the top of the table that is currently oriented, if he could drop in behind that.
See him loading up with right hand side. Looks okay. Just needs to be careful, because he's gonna, when he, well, I assume he's gonna play the.
I think he'll probably play the one bottom left.
Yeah,
and then
bottom
drop
left,
the one
and
in the middle.
Yeah, and leave the one to middle. Yeah, I think he's in prime.
Yeah, it's a bit deceptive from the other angle. It looked like he couldn't play it to the middle, but now you see it like this, it's obvious that you'd want to play it this way.
Yeah.
Because then, of course, it affords natural position anyway to the remaining ball. So this is ideal. He can either just stop the cue ball dead, or if he's got too much angle, he just run it into the red to stop it.
A lot of traffic around the black, but it's, it won't go to top right, which may have normally been the obvious pocket because there's a fairly big gap through the red. So he just needs to navigate position. There he's just looking at where he wants to be. If he finishes this side, then it's going to be a cut back to middle. And it is, you can see the look on his face, it is just in an awkward space because there's so much traffic around it. if he decides to screw back off the side, then brings a middle bag into play. I think he's just going to have to take his medicine here. And yeah, this looks okay. Just maybe slightly hampered. No, I think he can get to the back of the ball. And it, as I say, just took his medicine and left himself this cutback. No drama.
No, and it's exactly the way he plays the percentages. That red that he cannoned into was kind of a good target. That just need to focus on making some contact. It gives you a guide point. That's exactly the kind of clearance he's good at. Sort of no difficult pots, but just a few intricate positional shots. But if you were to put your money on anyone in the room to get that kind of positional shot right, he'd be right up there.
Cue ball control is fantastic.
So having won that first frame, it's Phil to break off in frame 2.
Next match will be Jason Owen on table 4, Josh Patel, Kev Sutton.
Just for a split second, I thought that looked like it was going to go dry, but then two of the last balls moving, both found their way to the pocket. He's potted one of each, so he's got the freedom to nominate either.
On table 5, Lucky Birdie, Harry Compton, Lucky Birdie, Harry Compton, table 5. Next match on table 8, Danny Lees, Gubby Gill. Danny Lees, Gubby Gill, table 8. If you collect the tablet from the top table, please. Danny Lees, Gubby Gill, table 8. Table 9, Nathan Ellis, Steve Prince. Nathan Ellis, Steve Prince, table 9. Collect the tablet from the top table, please.
Just really makes the game look simple. The years of experience.
Next match on table 10.
The tens of thousands of balls potted. Just creating that muscle memory that he relies on so heavily. Really is a delight to watch.
Next match on table 12, Luke Gilbert, Kevin Smith. Luke Gilbert, Kevin Smith, table 12.
Why is it always so funny to watch someone in pain? Paul just whacked his knee on the table. It's like watching a game of football where someone takes a ball where it's extremely uncomfortable, and all of his teammates just, he's rolling around on the floor in tears, and the teammates just trying not to giggle to themselves.
Providing some amusement at this end of the commentary box, at least, if not to our left.
So 2-0 down, and all of a sudden the pressure very much on Arfan and his break. He's got this cut break that he's adopted over the last couple of years and kind of perfected for himself during lockdown. He plays it really well. And again, the last ball moving. Is it going to drop? It's not. So the break just not being his friend at the moment. And we've watched a number of matches on the stream table so far, and given the contrast between the two breaks, the front ball break and the cut break, the front ball break, I would say, has been much more successful over the week so far.
Yeah, I mean, a few years ago there were a lot more people trying the cut break, but it just feels on these tables the front ball break does the job. And really, The cut break, you often get more clusters, so its real virtue is that you maybe pot one more often, but if you're not potting one, I think it kind of loses that merit. I mean, to be fair to Arfan, he's, as you say, like, had it pretty well perfected and has had a lot of success. You're not going to just change it because it hasn't worked a couple of times. But I think if you look around the room, I would say this weekend there are more people just going head on and just trying to get a firm connection on the front ball.
Yeah. We spoke yesterday about the best players going after their problems early doors, and there we see Phil addressing his issue in the very first shot, and suddenly, having done that, the table's fairly open. Okay, it's a little awkward still, but suddenly it's opened up for him, and you fancy him for another clearance.
Yeah, and it's a very sort of Phil-suitable clearance, this one. Like, you can't imagine any of these being difficult pots. They're all just about keeping close control of the white. Like, he's probably a less good relatively to the other players if all the balls are on the cushions and you're looking at long pots all the time. But this kind of position in the middle of the table, he's just so tidy with the cue ball control.
Well, he really does look at his brilliant best. And I was at breakfast this morning with Greg Batten, who I just look across, who's at the table on table 27, and Greg asked me at breakfast this morning, who have you seen so far over the weekend that can stop the absolute train that's Declan Brennan at the moment? And well, Phil on this kind of form, he's going to be very difficult to beat if he can keep this up with any kind of consistency, because he looks absolutely sublime at the moment.
Next match on table 11, Tony Brown.
Yeah, it's a different sort of game from Declan, but similarly effective.
Tim Weber, table 11.
You can see Shane Thompson in action in his match over on table 15. You would have probably just seen the back of him over Arfan's shoulder there. Let's have a quick look. At the scores around the room. So Ryan Francis has gone off to a 1-0 lead against Neil Raybone. Declan currently 2-0 against Matt Cook. Dave Fernandez 3-1 up against Glenn Whitmore. Cleve Thompson, who's having a good weekend, he's playing Jamie Fay. They're currently 1 each. Gaz Hibbert 1-0 down against Lee Howitt. John McAllister 2-1 up against Rob Warren. Ryan Bodsworth and Scott Gillespie 1 each. Shane Thompson and Jamie Stokes 1 each. And Clint Hansen currently 2-0 against Sanjay Patel. The other games in the draw currently 0-0. So 3-0 now to Phil Harrison.
All Arfan's done is break dry twice.
He's flawless at the moment.
I mean, I suppose from Arfan's point of view, that's a positive at least. It's not like he's done a lot wrong, but it's not an obvious route into the match right now. He's going to have to get some balls off the break because he can't rely on Phil to hand him the opportunity.
A couple of games there. In fact, all of those games on screen are from the Jason Owen Open, from the Open event that's ongoing. All races to 4. So aside from that, also all the main event, well, not all of the main event games in the round of 32 have started. There's a few that start at 12:45, but most of the games in play. Oh, cue ball in.
Yeah, that could be the lucky break that Arfan needs. That was a pretty well controlled break. So another ball hit that white in. That wasn't Phil's fault. And look at the position of the balls.
Yeah, Arfan needed this.
Next match on table 2.
Yeah, I mean, if that ball doesn't go in and just bounces somewhere in the middle of the table, that's probably 4-0.
Yeah.
Table 2.
Those are the fine margins at this standard. The lesser standard, you tend to get more opportunities. This level, sometimes you are just relying on a dry break from your opponent. So understandably giving this plenty of thought, having been frozen off the table for this long, he wants to make absolutely sure of this clearance.
Yeah. Has to be reds, doesn't it?
Yeah, you'd have thought so. I mean, it absolutely does if that yellow doesn't pass the red top right.
Yeah.
And the black's really the only ball that's protected in any way. All the others are in pretty open play.
Yeah, everything's here. So, I mean, all Arfan's doing here is just working through the entire pattern. It's just working out exactly which way, in which order he wants to take them to give him the best chance and the least amount of movement with the cue ball. And he's one of those players, he wants that pattern clear in his mind. We heard Carl Morris on commentary earlier. He said he's the same. He wants to work out that pattern right from the very start. So Arfan was just working out that really was the one he's just played was his main problem ball. He'll probably want to leave the one adjacent to the right middle pocket as his last ball to get onto the black. So I can see him maybe just got the wrong angle here. I think he's going to try. I think he would have probably wanted to finish on the bulk line so he can just come off the side cushion and then come down the left-hand side of the table for these two at the bottom of the table. As I say, he's going to want to leave the one over the middle as his last ball to get to black. And you can see this is just the wrong side of where he wanted to be. So he's just used the top cushion. He's had a huge bounce. A huge bounce. And now suddenly has to reroute. And it makes it slightly more awkward. I think he's still fine. He can pop the one to the right middle and then come down the table and probably now have to leave the black to the top right. He's got a big pocket where the yellow is over that top right pocket. And he's just having a look now at the lineup.
Yeah, I don't think this is the worst outcome.
No.
That previous shot coming down the table, it was one of those ones you'd have thought, I just need to hit this as hard as I can. That you'd be very surprised to have overhit it.
Yeah.
That was always the difficulty with this clearance. The balls were kind of in two halves. There was a group at the top of the table and a group at the bottom. But this is pretty much perfect. He's just got a slight angle so he can get the white back towards where his hand is now.
Yeah, I don't think this would have been his original plan. May have been exactly what he was planning. But yeah, a big pocket at the top of the table, so doesn't need it. Straight in, doesn't touch the sides.
Yeah, I think that was one of those ones. It was a big pocket from some angles, but it probably was safer just to play for the middle of it. I don't think if you hit the cushion, you might have jawed it.
Yeah, it was one of those you had to miss it by a fair margin for it to be a big pocket.
There's a sort of in between where
it's
near but not near.
It definitely wasn't one of those that makes it unmissable. As you say, if he'd have hit the rail, it could well have rattled.
So that's the foothold of the match he was looking for. Had to rely on a little bit of luck, his opponent getting kicked in off. 2 dry breaks so far in the match. We'll see if he persists with a cut break.
I'm certain he will. In fact, I've not really seen him adopt too much else in recent times. I think the front ball break was probably always a slightly weaker aspect to Arfan's break. Only in terms of the fact that he just used to lose the cue ball a little bit into the middles. And having said that, something quite rare. You don't often see anybody lose the cue ball from a cut break, but he's been a bit unfortunate. He's just been kicked into one of the bottom pockets, and this a frame where he really needed to win it. It's not the start he was looking for in this frame.
No, the two normal virtues of the cut break, the fact you maybe put one more often and the fact you go in off a bit less. It's not really demonstrated either of them, but it's a small sample size, and we've definitely seen it's pretty finely balanced. That's why some players do break like that and some don't.
Well, I mean, we know that he must be breaking well. Even to make those 2 finals at the IPA, you can't get through those fields without a good break.
Now, you often hear commentators, particularly in 9-ball tournaments, talk about adapting to the conditions and maybe breaking from the other side of the table. actually don't really blame him for not trying any of that. I think in 8 ball, generally consistency, you don't want to get too obsessed with the table being different from another table.
Yeah.
Frustrating when you're going off, having just won your first frame of the match, you're just thinking, I've got a break now, if I can just put some pressure on by winning 2 in a row. It's going to be a long afternoon if he's just chipping the frames away one at a time against Phil Harrison. He really needs to sequence something together. A little bit more difficult than the previous clearance for Phil, although there is a pocket for all of these balls. They're quite close together, so he'll need to demonstrate his cue ball prowess that we've already talked about to keep control.
Dave Fernandez now 5-1 ahead against Glenn Whitmore. Declan Brennan 2-1 against Matt Cook. Shane Thompson's just gone 2-1 behind. Scott Gillespie 3-1 up against Ryan Bodsworth. Jake Dillon Newlove and Aaron Davis tied up at 1 apiece. Clint Hansen 3-0 against Sanjay Patel now. So Arfan's break record so far, two dry breaks and 1 in off, isn't it?
Yeah.
Horrible.
I mean, that's kind
Horrible.
of the story of why he's 3-1 down. I mean, he hasn't missed any pots or done anything else wrong.
You know, you can't compete when the break's against you like that. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult against anyone. It's going to be even more so against someone like Phil.
Yeah, I mean, his problem is that he's not going to get gifted 7 opportunities from Phil, so if he's going to win 7 frames, he's going to have to make as many of them as possible off his own break. I mean, to be fair, it's only 3-1, so not exactly in danger territory yet, but slightly frustrating start for him.
But if Phil finds a clearance here at 4-1, then, you know, Phil's got the break in the next. Arfan's relying on mistakes from Phil, and he's just not looked like making too many at the moment. Phil, a little look to the heavens to show his frustration, which normally means that he's absolutely plumb.
I was about to say that, yeah. It's very hard to read much into that.
Yeah.
And I mean, he does look, I suppose, an inch or 2 further over, but this is fine, isn't it?
Yeah. He looks disgusted. But I think, actually, can't he just... He's going to play the outside one of the 3, but felt like he could play the middle one and maybe just hold for that, the one he's just about to play now. Maybe just stun across into red and black to hold. He likes to keep things simple, so he's going to take the outside one. That's gone wrong, I think. Yeah, just try to stun across, and he's still got a shot, but the cue ball's going to be running.
Yeah, it's not a difficult pot, but as you say, the cue ball's kind of coming down towards these yellows, and not in a way that is easy. If he could hit the highest of the yellows, that would be perfect, but that's not really the angle.
No, I think he's thinner. He's going to miss it and come down into the 2. Looks like a fairly... well, he's just looking now at maybe whether he can flick the edge of it. So perhaps it's a little bit thinner than we thought, because it looks like he feels that he's going to catch the edge of the yellow on the way through and lose the cue ball to the right-hand side of the table. And he'd even have a shot if he could just miss that first yellow and come down and hit the middle one of the 3-4 ball. He'd leave himself a shot.
It's not helped by the fact that he's going to inject a fair amount of pace in the ball because it's quite a thin cut. So
yeah.
You can't. If you could play it sort of dead weight, I think you could play that shot you've just said, but cannoning into it with a lot of pace unless you hit it absolutely straight.
Yeah. Yeah, this could very easily go wrong. Trusting a bit to luck. Oh, that's a bit smelly.
Yeah, I mean, he's quite good with these, but he's not. This is not his absolute forte. These kind of long, difficult shots. I suppose one good thing is he has just got to roll the red in. The white is naturally, I think, going to come across to leave a shot at the black.
No. No, wasn't close. That was a tough shot, playing those off of the rail. And I guess the one saving grace is it looks like it's just in the path of the yellow. So it does cause Arfan a bit of a headache. If it had left the open pocket for the yellow, then this would have been easier clearance. I don't think... I was going to say, I don't know if Arfan is going to pull the trigger here. Thought he may elect just to play a safety, but actually...
Yeah, it depends. If that ball is finished too close to the cushion to pot, I think you're going to have to think about the safety.
Yeah.
Well, it's obviously an absolutely given snooker, but what he's just thinking about, he doesn't want to leave a one cushion escape to let Phil come and pot the red.
Participation in the building, participation.
Yeah, that ball did pot, so that's...
So I guess this must go. I thought that the red had just done enough to not be able to sneak through this gap.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to brush off the red. Maybe he can just push it through the gap and just a light touch on it. I mean, I suppose you'd say that was always going to be an okay outcome if you just got the pocket covered and didn't leave a shot.
But if he's left a gap, you fancy Phil to go close with the one cushion double cross table. If the red was closer to the cushion, you'd fancy him even more. It's a little bit more awkward when it's just an inch or so off that top cushion, maybe even a couple of inches. But that's what he's looking at.
Yeah, the fact that it's a couple of inches off the cushion and he's only really got half a pocket in the first place.
Yeah.
It's not even that easy a shot if he just had the cue ball in hand.
Oh, great result though.
Yeah, and played it firmly, hoping that he was going to push it through even if it didn't drop in. I mean, that really is a good result, isn't it? To find that angle was not straightforward at all. I think Arfan would have been relatively happy with the leave when he walked away from the table. Now it looks like he's probably going to have to get drawn into some kind of safety game.
Well, I mean, the thing here is, you know, it's obviously a simple snooker, but then we'll probably see some deliberate fouls from Phil, and that's what Arfan's thinking ahead to. He's just thinking, well, you know, if I do leave a snooker, what's Phil going to do? Maybe just take one of the yellows off the table. He probably won't be in a hurry because it's up to Arfan to now get that yellow out. I guess having two shots, this shouldn't be too difficult a position because I think with two shots you expect the player of Arfan's ability to be able to get that yellow out and pot, so I think Phil has to try and maybe make another yellow awkward, perhaps push another yellow or even the black over that top pocket, and he's just looking now to see whether actually he can get through to the side cushion, maybe pop that red off the side cushion. We're just looking at a little swerve shot where you kind of play it to cushion first and the side takes and kicks the red in. It might be on.
Yeah, it's tempting, isn't it? It's one of those ones, if you go for it and mess it up, you're like, what on earth did I get involved with this for? There was no need. But at the same time, it's cleaner just to get it done. If you start knocking balls towards the pocket, you know you're bedding in for a long frame.
It's tempting him. It is tempting him.
I don't think it's the easiest. I think potting it might be all right. It's not the easiest to get the white out, but I guess anything other than snookered behind the yellow is an okay outcome.
I think the only other option, as I say, is to push another ball into that area, because having one ball there, it's going to be fairly easy to develop. But say the black's in that area too, it's going to be much harder to try and develop too. I think that's a percentage shot for me. It's just to push the black kind of up next to the yellow. either the black or another yellow. Looks like it's going to be the black.
Next match on table 7, Aaron Diol.
Yeah, I think that's the right shot, because now, yes, Arfan's got 2 visits, but he has to develop both of those balls.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing about getting the black in the mix, he doesn't want to leave a position where the yellow could be. If Arfan will be tempted to pot the red with the yellow.
Is there an opportunity here to try and develop both? Go cushion first and punch the yellow into the black and trying to get everything out. Yeah, that's no good. Arfan looks to the skies. I think he was trying to get to a position where he could punch the yellow into the cushion and hit the black ball half ball, and then just get both out at the same time. I don't think it's. I mean, I know he wanted to do that this shot, and while he's still got this safety net of the ball over the left-hand pocket, but I think he can still get a better position, still play the ball over the top left, and then play that shot. He's still got a ball on the table as his backup. I think I'd rather do that than try and do it from this angle.
Yeah, it's not just the angle, but you'd have to inject so much pace. I'm not sure we'd get them out from where he is at the moment.
I think he just has to take his medicine here and pop the ball over the pocket. I know he desperately wants to leave that ball over the pocket, because, as I say, if it goes wrong and he's not on the yellow that comes out, he's still guaranteed that pot. But it's not like it's his only ball. He does have another ball in the middle of the table.
Well, especially if he plays good position off the one over the pocket, because then he can try and hold for the one in the middle of the table.
Yeah.
Whereas this is going to be very uncontrolled. The
yeah.
white's going to be flying around if he plays there.
He doesn't like it, and I think he's right not to like it. I think he just needs to take his medicine and pot this ball. And he's really desperate not to pot it. He's even looking at the one just below the bulk line to see, maybe pot that one. But
well, I mean, if you were sure you would pot that one, but it's not 100% sure.
Exactly.
So I don't think it's that bad an outcome to have to just pot this one and get position.
He desperately doesn't want to, but I think he's kind of obsessing himself with leaving that over the pocket.
I mean, if you play with a lot of pace, it's going to be sort of digging down, so the white would be bouncing. Yeah, I think this is the right thing.
Ultimately, he's, as I say, just decided to.
Well, and where he's left it, he should be able to hold position for the one in the middle of the table. So I don't think this is a big. Well, I don't think it's a big problem. It's not a formality that he'll get both balls out into possible places. That's the uncertainty.
Yeah, I think they'll come out. Yeah, that's a.
Oh, that's finished really nice.
Brilliant.
How nice is that?
Yeah. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. So Phil, as he always does, just playing the percentages, but not working in his favour that time, and a nice clearance from Arfan. Worked that out well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to say when you play a percentage game, it's not necessarily the wrong shot. It's just sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, at all times we weigh up the percentages, and he would have thought, well, if I push that up there, then I'm kind of maybe 60% to come back to the table, and obviously 40% of the time you're still going to lose. So all you could do is, as you say, is just play the right shot for you. And lay the challenge down to your opponent. And Arfan was up to that challenge. And now it's 3 frames to 2. Is it 3-2?
It is. Yeah. The scoreboard taken directly from the one in the arena, so Arfan obviously hasn't put the frame up yet. This is better. When the score's wrong, we can now blame the players rather than blaming ourselves.
Yeah. Reds look pretty nice here. Everything has a pocket. Nothing particularly covering. I guess the red just to the right of the black, maybe just a little awkward, but he's got the one over the right middle to be able to land on it. So I only say it's a little awkward because it's only really got one pocket, but as I say, he's got the ball to get on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe the most awkward, but none of them are too bad.
I think he's going to come right back up table off this one. I think it's one of those clearances he'd like to take the 2 in bulk early and then kind of work his way back down the table.
Yeah, although the 2 in bulk look really easy because they're near the pocket, that you don't ideally want to play them as a plant, so prefer to get position.
Gone after that. I mean, just sees it, didn't he? I mean, we targeted this red as being potentially the one awkward shot, and just gets on it right from the first shot.
That was a sensible shot as well, because there's quite a big margin for error. If he's not on that one, he should be on the one that's in the centre of the table.
Yeah.
Also able to play with enough left-hand side to push the cue ball through for this one, which made this pattern more straightforward. So now can take the 2 in bulk, run the white into the centre of the table, and all 3 will be there waiting for him. As you say, this is a reasonably big frame for him. He was 3-0 up, so he doesn't want to see that evaporating. The good thing about these slightly longer matches, a few more twists and turns. One player gets some momentum than the other one does.
Next match on table 12, Tom Cousins, Early Vale. Tom Cousins, Early Vale.
Should be a good match. If you can hear in the background being shouted out, Tom Cousins and Oli Baylor are about to commence their last 32 match. Should be some fast, frenetic potting in that one. So just needs to make sure he screws back to leave this last red relatively straight.
Next match on table 16, Matt Brearley.
He's coming around to look at where he needs to leave the white, but anything if he just screws very slightly back off this, just as long as he's not hampered, this will be fine. So normal services resumed.
Top quality pull from both players. This really is good stuff, and the only thing that's splitting them at the moment is those early fails from Arfan's break, but still very much in this game, and at 4 frames to 2, all to play for.
Yeah, I mean, that shows how close, doesn't it? If Arfan just pots a ball off 1 or 2 of his breaks, then the scoreline's reversed. Declan Brennan, 4-1 up against Matt Kirk. The pre-tournament favourite, and still, I believe, favourite in the betting. So you see there, Oli Bale and Tom Cousins just lagging at the beginning of their match.
Next match on table
So
10.
will Arfan have any more luck in his 4th break than he has in the first 3? The answer is no. 3rd dry break of the match, which for a player of Arfan's quality, 3 dry breaks and a scratch is not a good return from his first 4.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened with the Tom Cousins Oli Bell game, because they were called to table 5 about an hour ago, and now they're playing on table 12. So I don't know whether Tom was still finishing up his breakfast. I saw him go in the breakfast room at 9 o'clock this morning, so it could have been that he was still just on his 7th course. One of these players is going to punch me one day. I can see it.
We might even get it on camera. If you could go and interview Tom, we can televise the fight after the match.
So another dry break from Arfan, and another opportunity for Phil. Starts with a plant. So now on yellows, and again the yellow, he's just looking to see now, I think both of these yellows pass to bottom right. if this one goes, I think it should be fairly. It's tight, isn't it? He knows it's tight.
There's something frustrating about this. When you watch your opponent look at it 15 times and then slot it in, it's almost more annoying than if they just potted it straight to start with.
Yeah, get a buzz through there. And I think the other one, I think there's half a pocket for the other one to pass there as well. It looks like it's blocked from that camera angle, but I think actually if you're right behind it again, he's looking to see right down the line. I think there is half a pocket there.
Well, such a difficult shot. He hasn't even shaken his head. Maybe he doesn't like it. Normally the Harrison head shake means that the ball's on.
Yeah.
Joking aside, though, I think he should be fine with that, and the fact that he's got the two balls in the middle of the table makes it easier. He wouldn't have to do too much with it if he could drop behind it.
Yeah, he's played the one to right middle. He should be able to land right behind it now. Yeah, and it is one of those, when you've only got half a pocket, you do want to be right behind the ball, so you can play it with the utmost accuracy. Flew in.
Yet again, smashes it in.
I think he would want to play both of these balls to middle and leave the one on the bulk line as his last ball, but he's just finished a tiny bit low.
He's got quite a good angle to drop on the one on the bulk line now, hasn't he? But I agree with you, it's not ideal to play that first.
Played it with loads of check, and
I think that's the difference.
perfect.
I think a lot of amateur players would have probably taken the one on the bulk line first, thinking it was the harder shot,
Yeah.
without paying attention to the fact that it's the easiest shot to get onto the black of.
yeah.
It's a bit of an oversimplification to say you work backwards in the black, but in that situation, you're looking at which is the best ball to get position on it, and it was clearly that one. So the Harrison train continues. With this black, he will go 5-2 ahead.
There's only so many superlatives. It really is just a joy to watch Phil play when he's in full flow. I know I keep saying it, but he's just top drawer.
Deserved recognition winning the Ultimate Pool Masters. Perhaps he's not always included in the sort of greatest of all time conversation as much as he would merit, but that was a field stacked with good players.
Shane Thompson just broke off on table 15. It's 3 frames each there now, and he's broken dry again. Doesn't look happy.
Well, the Harrison break has been pretty consistent so far. Right, my turn to go and apologise to him. The commentator's curse on the break now.
Yeah, he spoke too soon.
Now this is a real lifeline for Arfan. 6-2 was the last thing he wanted.
Yeah.
This is a chance to get back into it.
Yeah, if Phil finds a ball there, then you think this match is done and dusted at 6-2. But a very open table, and one you expect Arfan to clear. Now, he's going to go reds for certain, and he's going to have to take the one. I think he's played on it now, and he's underhit it. I was going to say he has to take the one above the black, the one that's blocking the pocket. He can't leave that till late in the break. He has to clear it out in the first few shots, and I think he's tried to land on it and just, I don't know if he decelerated. It's just underhit it slightly. That would have been the obvious shot to take. If he could have just come back another 3 inches, then I think this clearance was a formality. Just slightly more tricky now, because I think he's forced into playing the one. He's looking again. I don't think it goes. I think he's probably forced into playing the one top right. Well, Maybe he thinks differently, that he can just turn it over. But he's reaching, and it's
Yeah, if he could get his hand on the table and just, I think I need to swerve it queuing over is going to help him.
Oh, it could just go. There was me waffling, but it did go. That was an important ball to get off the table.
Yeah, that's another one where you watch that layout we played in a local league and players leaving that there 100% of the time going, oh, that's handy, I'm blocking the black if I miss it. But if you're going for a clearance, it's actually a difficult ball to get on.
Yeah. Yeah, you couldn't leave it until kind of, you definitely couldn't leave it till the last ball. You didn't really want to leave it until your penultimate. So the earlier that one's gone, because now you see, you know, it should be. I mean, it's just about connecting the dots. He's kind of got a natural shot to get onto the one to middle, and then pretty much a stop shot to play the ball to bottom right. It's just about whether he wants to play the plant or whether he wants to try and find that gap between the yellow and red to play the red at the bottom of the table now.
Yeah, I don't know if he played for that there. He's come a bit far for. Yeah, I mean, the other one will be fine still, but I thought he'd have left it slightly shorter if he was playing the one in the dead middle of the table.
Yeah.
I think that plant would be okay if you were hitting it pretty straight. What you don't want to be doing is coming at it from an angle, because you could push the second ball, say.
I think it's one of those, in the ideal world, you don't want to take it as a plant, but just given the way the balls are, he might be forced into doing it. Only because if you take the one near the pocket next, then it's more difficult to, okay, this is the better way of playing it. Of course, just stun across the face of the yellow and play the red to bottom right.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that was the angle he was leaving. It was a pretty specific angle he'd have had to leave.
Yeah.
This may have, I mean, in a way, there was a choice of different options depending on if you got the right angle or not, but this has simplified that problem.
You never want to play that plant if you don't have to. I mean, the plant was a gimme, but it was just where the balls go.
Just look at where he wants to leave the black. I mean, actually, he's got a fair bit of angle. Yeah, he may have to play sort of across the middle of the table. Yeah, there we are.
Just overhit this slightly. No, he's fine. He's fine. Thought the cue ball was just tracking towards that yellow, but it held up lovely. It was a perfect shot. So 5-3 with the break. As I say, very, very much in this match. So that dry break from Phil, really, really key.
Very important break coming up for Arfan. Batting 0 for 4 from his break so far.
Yeah. Surely must come good.
Tom Cousins over the other side of the arena playing early bail. Two Cousins at the table, and I think is still the first frame of this match. Oh wow!
Wow!
Three balls rattled in the jaws, but none of them fell in.
Well, we said about we don't often see him go for the front ball break, and well, the cut break was failing him, so he's transitioned across to that front ball break, and
yeah, I mean that was a millimetre away from 3 balls going in.
Yeah,
we'd have been saying what a great break and what a good idea it was to transition.
Yeah.
As it is though, pretty tempting layout.
I think it needs to be yellows. The reds, there's a couple awkward, aren't there? There's the one on the bulk line, which doesn't look like it goes anywhere. And there's more traffic around. Obviously with the yellows has got the awkward ball just above the black. I think that one's a little easier to get on. Neither are particularly inviting. But I think it needs to be yellows, and you can probably take the yellows, the 3 yellows at the top of the table, and then kind of work down the table.
Yeah, it's quite finely balanced, isn't it? He's looking at both options. I think you can make a case for the reds. You may just have to drop in behind the one on the bulk line.
Well, there you go.
Popped it out.
What do I know?
Well, it was. I think the only reason that was the right thing was the fact he did have the angle to get that one out. If the ball had been somewhere else, it wouldn't have been sensible.
When you Phil Harrison, you red to the ball. All I got to do is move that one, and it's frame on.
Pretty full weekend of pool for the players that have got to this stage of the tournament. They both played 3 matches last night, and then will almost certainly have played in another tournament so far this morning, so this will probably be their second match of the day.
If he's landed on the one to left middle, he's absolutely perfect. Pretty sure he has.
Yeah, it looks like he can get through that. That will definitely be the best one to take out. That's the only one that was, well, I suppose the one on the side cushion as well needs to drop on, but this is the most difficult one to get perfect position on. Oh, and in fact, he's had such perfect position that he was able to get on the other difficult one. Well, it's pretty easy to see where this match has gone wrong for Arfan. The post-match analysis doesn't need to focus too much on his break building. It's simply the break that's let him down. I don't think he's actually missed a ball yet, has he? Apart from the 5 breaks that have gone astray.
No, I don't think he has.
It's the standard they're playing at.
It's gone slightly awry. It's always the way he played it. He was only ever going to be on the ball that he flicked, and it's just come out slightly further than he would like. Now he has to run off the side cushion, and then he needs to find this gap between the 2 yellows. He needs to also play it so he leaves an angle on the penultimate red to get on to the last one.
Yeah, it surprised him how far he was thinking that ball was going to stay near the pocket. It bounced a fair bit further than he imagined.
I think he's just got an awkward angle here as well. It's one of those that you can't quite get into the ball enough just to stun up table, and it may be just too much to come off the side. Well, didn't he ever play that well? It just looked like the natural angle was going to take him into the yellow, but he just managed to avoid it, and although he's slightly hampered, doesn't look too bad.
Yeah, that was a good delicate touch. I think there are a few players that wouldn't have had that shot in their armoury. They'd have been having to look to play a power shot, maybe in and out of baulk, or take a different route.
Again, just slightly hampered, but given the fact he can only hit the right-hand side of the ball, that's fine, because he'd probably be playing this with a trace of right-hand side anyway. Again, just annoyed, shoulders slump. He's probably didn't get through that quite as he wanted to. Had he been another 4 inches across the table, then again this is simple. But now I think he probably has to play this to bottom right. I think he was targeting playing it to bottom left, maybe.
Yeah, he sort of finished between 2 options, hasn't he?
Yeah. The problem is, whichever you play, you're going to be losing the cue ball slightly.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thin clip. He's going to have a lot of pace on the white.
Yeah, I mean, either pocket. I think it does cut back to bottom left, but the cue ball's going to be flying. You can play it to bottom right, which I think you can probably control the cue ball slightly more, but it's coming out the wrong side of the table, so you're going to have to see Phil pull off something here.
Yeah, I mean, there aren't many good things on that side of the table, are there?
No, I don't know. He's looking now. Is it 2 cushions and then back through the gaps of the yellow to the top of the table, and then kind of finish over by the right-hand side cushion. I think that may be all he's got. He's made the pot, and he's got a favourable flick. Puts his hand up to apologise. I think he would have, even if it wasn't that flick, he would have probably finished across this side somewhere anyway. So awkward black, but one you fancy him to get. Great potter of the ball. Finds the middle of the pocket. Well, gets himself to the hill.
Yeah, there'd been a moment Arfan was sitting there thinking, oh, maybe I could come back to the table, but no. Tom Cousins still at the table. Looks like he's on to at least the second frame of that match. We saw him with a few less balls a moment ago. Currently leading Oli Bell by 3 frames to 0, in fact. Predictably, that match being played at a lively pace. Viv Roscoe, you can just see in the front of shot, tournament director for GB9 Tour and tournament official at some matchroom events recently. Been doing a sterling job on the officiating side, getting a chance to play today. So Phil Harrison continuing his good run. Unlike his opponent, he's having a pretty consistent run of potting off his own break. On the hill now, leading by 6 frames to 3, so just needs this or one of the next 4 frames to secure this match. Starting to get towards the business end, although still a lot of pool to be played today, because the winner of this match will be into the last 16, so still going to play the last 16 quarters, semi and final tonight, so it's going to be a long afternoon and evening for whoever prevails, although a champagne problem for whoever gets into that position. They'll be more than happy to be playing all that pool. So Phil's destiny very much in his own hands. These reds are all in pretty accessible positions. I guess that one below the black you would say is a little bit protected by the yellows around it. That's not typically something that causes Phil too much trouble. The balance of the play we've seen, it's hard to argue with the scoreline, although really Arfan hasn't done anything apart from the dry breaks, so it's not been poor play, it's just we've seen a bit less of him at the table. He's got several opportunities, so not a great deal of pressure, but would obviously like to get the job done in this frame off his own break. Absolutely perfect weight of cue ball there. No problem at all clearing the 3 reds at the top of the table. Then it's just a case of leaving himself a nice angle to come down for the remaining 2.
I wonder if he... just wondered for a second if there's only a small gap, isn't there, to be able to play the red that's just below the black. And I just wondered for a second, because he was on it, I didn't know if maybe he'd elect to play it there and then and just stun across the yellow while he was on it, but I think that gap's easy enough from where he is here. It's easy enough to find again.
Yeah, you can either find that gap, or I guess if he can't find that gap, he can put the one over the bottom right-hand corner and could potentially leave it to the middle.
I think he's perfect here.
Yeah, he's got an absolutely ideal angle if he does want to play for that gap.
Yeah.
Just draw the cue ball back towards himself. That's not the kind of mistake you see very often from Phil, overrunning a ball by a good few inches there. Luckily for him, of course, he is on the other one, or I assume he's on the other one.
I mean, I know he kind of wanted to get close, because then he could just probably stun through the gap in the yellows. There is a backup plan. He had a margin for error.
Yeah, I think the issue is that he just didn't want loads of angle because it was going to be hard to hold for the last one.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, it's better to have a shot with too much angle than not have a shot at all. Anyway, as it happens, there was a plan B.
Yeah.
And actually, in some ways, this was always the safer. He was always going to leave himself a shot at the middle if he played it like this. Okay, it's a slightly more delicate one.
Well, this is as good as I've seen Phil Harrison play for some time. Really impressive performance. Arfan Dad, well, he's not really done very much wrong.
No, just go out and burn the brake cue and then carry on as he was apart from that.
Yeah. Oh. Well, just when you think.
Yeah, I mean, that's the first real unforced error, isn't it? He did miss, maybe missed 2 balls earlier on, but much more difficult ones. That, I mean, that, to be fair, wasn't entirely straightforward, and I think the reason he missed it was he was digging down on it to try and hold position for the black. If he could have just rolled it dead weight, I think it was pretty much unmissable for him. This is annoying because even though he is still a warm favourite for the match, and even though he'll have at least one more of his own breaks, it's a bit frustrating. He could have been shaking hands by now and then going and having a break before the next match, whereas he's going to watch his opponent clear up instead. So just a glimmer for Arfan. At the moment he would have been virtually packing his cue away, but it's not out of this yet. Someone who's playing with the freedom of a man who is 6'3" behind, isn't he?
Isn't he ever?
Just looks sort of happy to be there, not taking too much time.
Next last players competition on table 3. Michelle Brown, door right. Michelle Brown, door right, table 3.
Now, what price for Arfan to break and clear the next? I reckon it's pretty short odds, you know, because it's funny how the momentum swings backwards and forwards and people get punished for making mistakes.
Well, short odds kind of, although I will say against that, he hasn't potted a ball off any of
He's
his
not
breaks
potted
so
a ball
far.
off the break, but I'm going to put it out there. He's going to break and clear.
Is he going with the front ball again? Head on break? He was close last time. That was looking more promising than the cut break.
I think he will, you know. Oh, he thought about it, didn't he? Kind of, shall I put it? No.
Oh.
He's still going front ball. He's going to try it from the other side.
Well, your prediction could be on still.
Don't know why, I just fancied him. It's just funny how the game swings.
He'd be absolutely delighted, of course, to have potted a ball given the way this match has gone. It's not his best break in terms of splits. Some of the ones he's left for Phil have been a good deal easier than this one.
Yeah, this is awkward. A cluster of 7 balls at the top right. He has to go yellows. He just needs to work out the plan of how he breaks those 2 up at the top. Well, he's gone after them straight away, and I think that's perfect. I think he's okay.
Yeah, it wasn't quite how he played that camera,
No.
but actually this might be okay. I mean, it's okay, obviously, for the ball he hit. The question of whether he can get to the other one that's near the top corner pocket.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if that red's just far enough away that you can. I think it pots. It pots from here.
Yeah, I mean, he's landed in the perfect spot for this.
It's just.
I mean, he's also landed in the perfect spot for the one in the middle, but.
Yeah, I'm just about to say that. This is all about the order you take them in. The problem is the one next to the red pots now, but how do you get on the next ball? So the next one's going to be the one to middle by the look of it.
Yes, it's not a certainty. Should be able to Yeah, he's just able to push it through enough.
Lovely.
He was always going to hit that red. It was just a question of how thick he caught it and whether he could get the white out into open play again.
Phil's fuming.
Yeah, I mean, it's small margins, isn't it? A couple of millimetres away from being perfect on that ball, then he wouldn't have missed it. And instead of which, he's let his opponent in for one clearance already, and now he's midway through a second.
Oh, I should have run down and seen the bookie and asked him what price for a break disc, because I really fancied it here. Don't know why. It's just the way the game goes sometimes. You just feel it. Bit of a grimace. Just slightly the wrong angle.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be hard. He's going to leave a shot at that yellow. He's just seeing that red on the side cushion, thinking maybe that would obstruct him from getting prime on the yellow. So just content to leave himself very slightly longer. Still a pretty simple shot though.
Yeah, nothing to do with the cue ball. Bounce it off the bottom rail, and it's going to be on the black to middle. And there we are.
Good stuff from Arfan. He's held himself together well despite the frustrations of the early part of the match.
Well, Phil's going to have another break. He's going to have another chance. What price now for a dry break?
It's funny, isn't it? I mean, if Phil pots that, he wins 7-3, and you'd go away saying, well, it was a relatively one-sided match, whereas now Arfan's right back in it.
I mean, it just shows. It just shows the quality of Arfan, the fact that he's only had success off of one of his 6 breaks, and he's still just one frame behind.
Yeah, I mean, he's yet to make any mistakes, really. Those have been the 5 opportunities he's had, and he has cleared up. He really needs a ball hit. Visibly
Cue
putting
ball,
more power into it.
wow, that cue ball looked like it was tracking straight toward. You could see him bend his knees as the cue ball tracked towards that top right pocket, and suddenly something came in its path and just kept it out. Wow. What a big moment.
Yeah, he definitely went for power over control. Like normally
Yeah.
he hits it a bit more gently and with a bit more of a normal cue action. That time he stood up before he even struck it and really threw his arm through. Still, good outcome.
Yeah, this is decent. Reds look pretty good, and not only do they look pretty good, the yellows look pretty horrible. So, you know, he's even got that safety net that if something does go awry, then it's a really tough job for yellows. So this is pretty much the perfect layout for him.
There's no way Phil wants this going to a deciding frame, having had the lead that he did a moment ago.
John McAllister has gone through 7-4. Scott Gillespie has gone through 7-3. Clint Jansen is through 7-1, all through to the last 16. Also there, Dave Fernandez, who beat Glenn Whitmore 7 frames to 1. Jamie Faye's on the hill against Cleve Thompson. Declan Brennan's 5-2 against Matt Cook. Neil Rayburn and Ryan Francis locked at 4 apiece. Liam Gollop 5-1 up on Jack Whelan. Aaron Davis 1 frame ahead at 4-3 against Jake Dillon Newlove. John Cousins 4-1 against Oli Bell.
Meanwhile on table 1, this is the defining shot of the frame for Phil Harrison. Left himself a tricky plant and somewhat quit on that.
He did. He did.
I mean, you'd still rather be reds than yellow, so it's not all bad news, but...
Yeah, Arfan will be just happy that he's got to look at the table there.
But it's funny, when you see Phil's reaction, if you think how well he's played in this match, the idea that he's sitting there annoyed with himself, but it's just the fact that he's let his opponent off and now he's only 1 frame ahead.
So Arfan just electing to try and get a ball over the pocket, but that is not good enough. I guess the only thing you can say, it causes a bit of a headache for the red that's just above the black. It now doesn't go to bottom right. So he needs to think about, Phil needs to think about what he's going to do with that red now. But he wanted to cover the pocket to block the other red that's there, and he hasn't. Phil's missed the plant again.
Well, that's ridiculous. How often do you see him miss a ball twice?
Wow.
Especially that. I mean, well, I think he thought it was unmissable, which is why he played it like that.
And now Arfan can get that cover across. Just sure, yeah, I was going to say, I don't think he's going to try and push that yellow across over the pocket, only because it wasn't going to do him any favours. I think he was leaving the cue ball at the bottom of the table to give Phil another chance, so he's just made sure that he's tied up the red and the black.
What's especially annoying for Phil now is that he's got drawn into a safety battle. If that ball had dropped, he was in prime position to clear the bottom right-hand corner pocket with red off yellow, and then they'd all have been there.
Yeah. So he's going to take the plant on again, and it's pretty much unmissable now. Oh, he's played it. Oh, what a clever shot that is. Played the little cannon off the red in the cluster. Goodness me. I don't know how you even see that shot, because I certainly didn't.
Well, he hasn't done this the easy way, but if he clears these up, I guess that will all be forgotten pretty fast.
Wow. What a great shot that was.
Well, suddenly he's in a much better position than he was.
Look at this again.
The shot before. Oh, that's ridiculous.
What a great shot.
I mean, I suppose the thing about it is it's almost a bonus that potting it you were playing to open it up. But I mean, there's such vision to think of that.
To even see it, I mean, when I saw him targeting the side cushion, I thought he was just going to play the cue ball up there and play the plant off the cushion. I'm sure there's people sat at home going, yeah, I spotted that. I certainly didn't, so fair play to you if you did.
And fair play to Phil. This looked like it could turn into quite a lengthy tactical match, and then suddenly, with that one shot, it's all open. Well, it looked like he was going to be a comfortable winner. There was a moment it suddenly got a bit nervy, but Phil Harrison ultimately is going to prevail by 7 frames to 5.
Wow, goodness me. What a match that was. Absolutely superb, and hats off to Phil Harrison coming through that one. Unlucky to Arfan Dad. It was just his break really that let him down. What an exciting match come the end. We're going to go down and get a few words with Phil Harrison, and we'll see you down in the interview room in just a couple minutes. Phil, you know when you're playing Arfan, you have to play at your brilliant best, and there were moments there early in that match where you were playing your brilliant best. A couple of errors at the end, but that was a superb performance.
Yeah, it was all right. Nice to break well as well. I broke quite well, and I was getting balls. Obviously, Arfan weren't, but yeah, I made some nice finishes, but I made some right mess ups as well. But if I keep giving myself chances, hopefully I'll get them. But to be honest, I was feeling the pressure at the end because obviously kept making mistakes, and he just kept on coming in behind me and does what he does, you know. So, but luckily for me, he couldn't get a ball up to break, and I could.
But the standard of play all the way through. I mean, you mentioned there Arfan 4 dry breaks and 1 in off, and he still gets you under pressure. It shows his quality, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, he's as good as I've ever seen him play, and he seems to be getting better. He's enjoying his pool, and I'm sure somewhere along the line. I mean, I don't know what he's won in the past, but he's going to win something if he keeps playing like that.
Yeah, absolutely knocking on the door. Phil, I can't let you walk away from here without talking about Monday night. I mean, what an absolutely brilliant performance, and what a great event. You must be absolutely made up to win that one.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've been cleaning windows for the rest of the week, and I'm buzzing every day, you know, and even the people in my village was, saying well done and everything, and one or two of them I didn't even know. So yeah, it's really nice, and that it's got out there, and yeah, buzzing, made up.
Yeah. So back to the event. I mean, now in the final 16, Clint Hansen in the next. Thoughts for the rest? Do you fancy it?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter who you play, does it? You know, if you want to win one of these tournaments, you've got to beat all those players. And they're all here to win it, and you know, it's going to be no different in the next round. Yeah, but we'll have to improve.
You're going to go all the way?
I don't know, mate. We'll see. One ball at a time. I don't give much away.
Always pragmatic, Phil. Always pragmatic. But yeah, what a great performance, and best of luck for the rest of the event. See you soon. We'll be back on the main table in just a few minutes.